Hello everyone, my name is Katie. I am the Introverted Reader and this is going to be my wrap up for the month of August. As you guys know, I was taking part in the DisneyReadAthon for the month of August, and I realized that August is not over yet as of me filming this. It is the 29th of August. I realized that August isn't over yet, but I'm going to be going out of town next week and I won't have time to film. So I'm filming it now. But yeah, I also wanted to say, I realized we all got some sad news this morning. Rest in power, brother Chadwick Boseman. You were the most amazing T'Challa. You were wonderful. Um, and I do just want to say as well, if any of you are feeling some kind of way right now about Chadwick's passing or about anything at all, I'm going to leave a resource down in the bottom, or down in the description just at the very top, just for you to click on, or for you to just look at, or look at for someone else or for yourself or whatever it is. If you want to talk, my DMs are always open. But yeah, so so with that said, I'm just gonna get on with the wrap up here. So as you guys know, like I said, I took part in the DisneyReadAthon. I was on Team Beauty and the Beast, and I managed to complete all the books for that team. So let's just get through them. The first prompt was for Belle, and that was to read a book with a grand adventure, and for that I chose Reflection, A Twisted Tale by Elizabeth Lim. This is part of the Disney Twisted Tales series. So basically what they do is they take, they ask a question, and then an author takes that question and writes a story around that question. And the question is, what if Mulan had to travel to the underworld? And this was so good. This is definitely one of my favorites of the Twisted Tales that I've read thus far. You really get an insight into Mulan and who she is, like inside her head. You're inside her head a lot, and you see a lot of her anxiety and a lot of her fear about going to war and impersonating her father, and this constant fear as to whether or not her family is going to accept her, you know, whenever she returns. And it's wonderful. 4 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read was for the prompt for The Beast, and that was the prompt was read a book with a misunderstood character, and I read Loki Where Mischief Lies by an author that I'm not even going to say the name of. If you've heard of this book, you know who I'm talking about, but that author's recently outed herself as a problematic piece of doggy turd, so I'll not be reading anything from her again, which is really sad because I really, really love this book. I thought that this story was wonderful. It's basically a story about Loki, and he gets banished to 19th century Earth, and there's this weird, there's weird happenings are going on. People are dying and they don't know the cause of it, and basically Loki has to team up with this group of other humans to determine what's happening to these people. And there's a lot of plot twists in here that I genuinely did not see coming, and I really, really love that. But again, I will not be reading from this author again because, like I said, problematic piece of doggy turd. So, but I did give this book 4 stars. I did enjoy this book, but not be reading anything from this author ever again. The next book that I read was for the prompt for Lumiere, and that was read a book that you know is going to be a 5 stars, and that was Cinderella is Dead by Kaylin Barron. This was wonderful. This is basically a story about 2 young women who take it upon themselves to smash the patriarchy, and I was so here for it. Like, the main character is so strong-willed and sassy and like so outspoken. Like, she is just not afraid to speak her opinion, and her her journey it just gives me such inspiration to want to just smash the patriarchy. And I knew little to nothing about this. All I knew was that it was sort of like a retelling about Cinderella, and there is a sapphic romance in here. It's female romance, and it's just beautiful. It's beautiful, and you need to read this book. 5 out of 5 stars for Cinderella is Dead. The next one that I read was for Cogsworth, and that was to read a book where time is running out for our character. And I had Ace of Shades by Amanda Foody for this prompt, but I ended up switching it and I read Soul of the Sword by Julie Kagawa. This is the sequel to Shadow of the Fox. This was fantastic. So basically, it's basically a story about our main character is a kitsune, a fox spirit, and she is entrusted with a piece of this magic scroll. And basically, if all the pieces of this scroll get put together, and basically a dragon can be called, and if the dragon is called and a wish is made, then bad things will happen, and we need to stop these bad things from happening, and time is just slowly running out for them. But like, it's a fantastic sequel, although I will give trigger warnings for depiction of dead bodies, depiction of injuries, and just like body parts in general. It gets very bloody, so if you're squeamish, be wary. But like, all in all, this was a fantastic sequel. I think I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads, but in my heart it was 5. Really, really, really amazing. The last one that I read was one of the options for the group book, because the group book for Teen Beauty and the Beast was A Curse So Dark and Lonely, but I've already read that, and I've already read the sequel. So instead I read The Sound of Stars by Alicia Dow. This was one of the other options for the group book, so I just picked this one and read it because it just sounded really good. And the tagline for it is, "Can their love of books and pop music save the world?" So basically, aliens have taken over, and our main character is running like an illegal library inside of her house, and she's basically trying to like keep books and stories alive. And the other side, our male protagonist, is a lab-made alien called Morris, and he loves music. He secretly listens to music all the time, and him and her end up teaming up together. And yeah, basically that's what the tagline is: "Can the love of books and music save the world?" And it just goes from there. And that's really all I can tell you. I realize that's vague, but that's literally all I knew. And it's beautiful. You need to read this book. Like 5 out of 5 stars for Sound of Stars. So, and an extra little book that I read was Avatar: The Last Airbender comic, The Promise. This wasn't for any of the prompts for the Disney Readathon or anything. I bought it, and when it arrived, I just had to read it right away. It was wonderful being back in this world again. I absolutely adore Avatar, the TV show. This takes place a year after the events of the TV show, so I can't really give a synopsis without spoiling. But like, I love this world, I love these characters, and Zuko is the best character in this whole thing, and I will fully die on this hill. Like, I love Zuko with my whole heart. But yeah, if you're a fan of Avatar and you haven't read this, you really need to read this. 5 out of 5. Okay, so those were all the books, minus The Promise, for Teen Beauty and the Beast. And after I was done with that, I had some time, so I was able to read 3 books for Team Princess and the Frog. So I moved around the map to the Princess and the Frog Island, and I managed to read 3 books, which I'm really proud of myself for doing. The first book that I read was for Tiana, and her prompt was read a book with a hardworking character, and I read With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. This was a fantastic novel. This follows our main character, Imani, who is half black and half Puerto Rican, and she's 17 years old, and she has a 2-year-old daughter, and they live with Imani's grandmother. And she is so, like, she is the embodiment of a hardworking woman. Like, she looks after her daughter, she goes to work, she goes to school, and she's just wonderful. And like, she just loves her little daughter so much, she loves her granny so much. Family is definitely a prominent theme within this novel, as well as school and education. And just, yeah, it's beautiful. This is the very first Elizabeth Acevedo novel that I've ever read, and I really want to read more of her works now. I realised that The Poet X is written all in verse, and I do want to read that, but I can't get it on Audible. Like, I want to listen to the audiobook, because obviously it's written in verse. But anyway, With the Fire on High was absolutely fantastic. Imani is amazing. I adored her story so much. 5 out of 5 stars for that. The next one that I read was for the prompt, Dr. Facilier. I got mixed up there. Dr. Facilier, and that was to read a book where there's magic involved. And, what did I read that one for? I can't remember. But, it was Wanted by Betsy Shaw. And, I read this for Prince Naveen. The next one I read for Dr. Facilier, excuse me. Wanted by Betsy Shaw. Read this for the Prince Naveen prompt, which was to read a book with royalty. So, so yeah, this is the second book to the Storymaker series, the first one being Spelled. And it's basically set within like the land of story. So like every storybook or fairy tale character that you can think of exists in this world. If I'm being completely honest, this wasn't my favorite of the month. I definitely got lost in the plot a lot of times, and a lot of the reviews on Goodreads said the same. The plot was very, very convoluted, and there was this whole arc in the middle, which sounded good in theory, but the execution wasn't so much. But yeah, and there was this unnecessary love triangle in there as well. It literally made no sense whatsoever, and I was actually a little bit pissed off. But the ending was really good, and I do plan on reading the last book in the series, but sadly this one was not my favourite. 3 out of 5 stars for Wanted. And the very last one I want to talk about was for the prompt for Dr. Facilier, and this was read a book with magic involved, and that was Night of the Dragon by Julie Kagawa. This is the third and final book in the Shadow of the Fox trilogy. This made me cry. This made me cry. Like, when you read this, be prepared for tears, is all I'm going to say. I can't give a synopsis, obviously, without spoiling, but there's lots of magic. There's lots of things happening. Again, I can't give a synopsis without spoiling, but like, if you've read this, you know what I'm talking about, and I'm still so upset. I'm so upset. Like, I remember reading it and just being like, no, like, yeah. But yeah. Well, did I give it 4? I think I gave it 4, but I think this might just be a 5 in my heart as well. I had to look really hard to get a hardback copy of this, but eventually we found one. But yeah, this is the very last book that I read. So those are all the books that I read in the month of August. I guess I know I realized that August isn't over yet, but like I said, I just wanted to get this out of the way because, like I said, I'm going out of town for a while. It'd be nice to get a change of scenery, but yes, I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're staying safe. Again, I will leave a resource at the top of the description for those of you that need it. Follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and ring the bell to know when I upload again. And I will see you guys in my next video. Stay safe, everyone.